Graham Mack.
BBC Radio Merseyside.
Clarissa Dixon Wright was born on this day in 1947. She was one of the celebrity chefs known as the Two Fat Ladies, and she died in 2014 and was cremated on gas mark 5 for 20 minutes. It's what she would have wanted! Talking about stuff left behind, because Travelodge have come out with a list of different things that people have left in hotel rooms, including a wedding sari worth £10,000, a book of stories written by a 10-year-old called John, and a stamp collection that goes back 50 years. But Tom in Ellesmere Port, you reckon you've got this beat? What's that?
Graham, I've had a couple of instances. I was managing a pub in Chester.
Yeah.
And the drayman had delivered, and we was having a little drink afterwards.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, what's that?" And there was this package on one of the benches.
Yeah.
And it was at the height of the IRA bombing fights.
Goodness me, yeah. And you're running a pub, yeah.
And Chester was, as you know, a garrison town.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a quick look at it, and a fella had left his prosthetic leg.
He left his... Now...
Yeah.
He literally went to the pub and left legless.
He left his leg there.
Yeah, but
it must have been his spare, because we never saw him up out.
Yeah, exactly. But, how do you forget something like that?
But then, there's another fella.
Why, hang on a minute. Do you remember the fella being in there with the false leg?
No, I don't, honest to God. And he didn't collect it. I think somebody else must have come and collected it.
Well, because the bloke that collected it had two legs?
Yeah.
That's highly suspicious.
Yeah. But this other one, there was a briefcase left against the bar.
All right.
And I thought, frightened to death.
Yeah.
So we carried it out into the car park.
So you were brave.
And the policeman came and opened it up, and there was £3,000 in it.
Oh, my goodness.
It belonged to the local hairdresser.
Yeah, a likely story. £3,000 in cash.
And I carried it out.
That may have been I don't know how much, because it's a big business, isn't it? Like your hair and beauty and stuff. So
but
I don't know what he was up to.
It was doing more than cutting hair. I know they get tipped all right, but come on.
But we had the local wag used to come in, and he took his glass eye out, and he used to put it in the glass. You know, used to one of these Jack the lads.
All right.
And he'd leave his glass. And when he went to the toilet, the barmaid collected the glasses and threw it down the sink.
No!
Honest, things people leave behind, you know.
Paul McCartney was in town yesterday, and Jackie Spencer is a tour guide. She was given a tour yesterday, and she's at the Beatles statues at the pier head, and something special happened, didn't it, Jackie?
Oh, gosh. Well, I was finishing a tour. I'd been on a private tour with 4 people from the West Coast United States, Washington and California, and we'd had a lovely time. We finished at the statues. They were going to drive off to Bath with my driver. And
is it always is that where you always finish your tour, at the statues at the pier head?
Most of the time, it's a nice place to say goodbye, and they've been going off to do the Yoko exhibition.
Yeah.
So it works out a nice place. The tours are tailor-made, so we stop anywhere. But today, that was how it worked out.
Yeah.
So we'd taken our pictures and everything, and there was a man with a really serious-looking camera there. So we just went over to him and said, "Who's in town? We've heard rumours." And he said, "Oh, I can't tell you." And so we're like, "Oh, yeah, whatever." And he went, "But he's in that car over there." And first of all, he said, "But I can tell you James Corden, but somebody with him." I was like, "Oh, well, James Corden. Yeah, it's fine."
No big deal.
But the next minute, no big deal. James Corden got out, and then so did Paul. And we didn't have a clue. Now, I've seen him around town before, but usually we kind of know he's there for Lipper or something. This was completely out of the blue, and he just walked over to the statues, and the people on my tour were like looking like I wanted to blag it that I'd organised it for them, but I think even I can't do that.
You didn't even have the presence of mind to suddenly say, "Well, this is how we always finish our tour."
I think everybody might expect it then, and they'd be severely disappointed.
So, did he say anything to you?
No, it was all quite a whirlwind, really. He just walked over, James Corden with him, and started and moved over to the statue, and he was looking at the statue and pointing at it. And then his security men were doing their job, kind of keeping people away. But then he beckoned everybody over to go and take a photograph with him. And so a few people jumped in the pic, and they're the ones you can see on a lot of the photographs you can see online now. So then they moved away. James Corden was doing the selfies and things. And it was just quite magical. Then they walked back again and back into the car, and that was it. But really nice to everybody.
Did anybody with you get in any of those selfies?
They didn't, no. Not in the selfies, but they do have some photographs where they're in the background. I can't see myself on any of them and Goddard. But at the time, you don't know. You've got your phone and you're thinking, oh, well, you just about can press the button. To be honest, my hands were shaking afterwards.
So about how many people were milling round then that witnessed all this?
Well, that statue's usually very, very busy.
Yeah.
But it was relatively quiet. Let me say about 40, 50 people. It wasn't a huge deal. Sometimes you've got a whole coachload of people there, or a tour group, big tour groups just turned up. But it was just regular people. There were no tours. Apart from mine, just regular people milling around.
Is this the most amazing random thing that's ever happened on one of your tours?
Absolutely. Yeah, it really, really is. We've had encounters with Mack before, like I say, but usually we know that they're going to happen, and I might keep it a surprise for the people on the guests. We know he's going to turn up for such and such a function like the Lipper graduation.
Yeah.
Never just out of the blue like this. And we've been asking the crew at the Philharmonic all week, what are you setting up for? What's going on? And they've all been sworn to secrecy and been very good about it as well.
Wow, imagine a secret like that not getting out in this city.
I know. They've really done well. They really, really have.
And on your next tour, will you be saying, well, at the end of the last tour, Paul McCartney showed up. I can't promise anything, but, it's...
Well, the truth is, I actually did 3 tours yesterday. That was my first tour. The rest of them were like, I was still in a state of shock, I think. I don't know whether I got many facts out. But the funny thing is, my second tour, we were finishing in Hope Street, and he was in the Philharmonic then. So the second tour got to kind of hang around Hope Street for a little bit. Not sure if they saw them, because then I had to run off and do the third tour.
Did you know he was in the Phil at the time?
Yeah, well, we didn't know in advance, but when we got there, we realised there was a big crowd outside, and then we realised he was doing this gig in the Phil. So at that point, we knew. But my third tour, funnily enough, was a coach tour. And that's why my voice is a bit croaky this morning. We've not stopped as tour guides. I'm mad busy at the moment. So the third tour was having dinner in the Philharmonic. It was a coach tour with a pre-booked dinner. And the Philharmonic had bumped them to a later time because Paul McCartney was in there. So all 3 of the tour groups got some kind of impact from it.
What a shame they got bumped and missed it.
I know, I said they should have insisted and all turned up at the right time.
Yeah, so well, no, we've booked. We've got something booked here, we're going. Yeah, and so that first tour, these 4 Americans on the private tour, did the meeting with Paul McCartney as the finale of the tour, was that represented in the tip you got at the end?
I can't talk about that.
Californians and people from Washington, they like to tip. That would be the one worth tipping, I would have thought, even though you had nothing to do with it.
They were very generous, but the smiles on their faces, that was plenty enough. And I've told them to make sure that they give me a good TripAdvisor review, because they're not going to top that, really, are they?
I think you'll be fine, Jackie, somehow. Jackie Spencer, a tour guide, thank you so much for telling us all about Paul McCartney in Liverpool.
Oh, you're welcome.
Wow. Well, who else saw him? Because there must have been other people around town that knew he was coming and saw him. And who got to go to the gig at the Philharmonic pub yesterday that Paul McCartney did, the secret gig? And how did you get to be invited to that? What's the story there? Did you have a brush with Paul McCartney yesterday?
Baby, I'm amazed the way you love me all the time.
It's a shame that we don't always recognise an omen until a long time afterwards. I'm saying this because I survived a channel crossing from Jersey. It was awful. This was when I did the breakfast show on a radio station in Bournemouth. We did a promotion with Condor Ferries, and they flew us over to Jersey from Southampton. We did the breakfast show from a hotel the next morning, and we came back on the Condor Ferry, which was a jet cat. And it was a rough crossing. This jet cat was big, though. I mean, there's cars and trucks loaded on with a few hundred people, and it was fast. And I think it was the speed of it that made it even more uncomfortable, because nearly everyone was seasick. Yeah, it was terrifying. I remember looking at this little girl. She's about 8 years old. I turned away to look at something else for a second, and when I turned back, it looked like she'd exploded. She was just covered in sick. Yeah. You know, I think she'd thrown up while we were on the top of a wave, and the boat had dropped, and so the spew was suspended in mid-air for a second, and then it started to obey Newton's first law of motion when gravity kicked in and it landed on top of her. Yeah, I should have known it wasn't going to be a pleasant crossing, though, because of the omen I saw the day before. You see, Condor Ferries had a marketing campaign with the slogan about this jet cat called "I Love My Cat." Only the word love was the picture of a heart, like the old "I Love New York" thing. And the day before, in St Helier, a car had gone past us with a Condor Ferries bumper sticker on and the slogan, "I heart my cat." But someone had coloured in the heart with black marker pen, so it looked more like a spade than a heart. So in effect it said, "I spade my cat." I thought it was funny at the time, but now I realise what was going on. Because on board that vomit comet, a lot of us nearly had kittens.
Graham Mack, BBC Radio Merseyside.
I'm Graham Mack, asking why today's special, and it's a historic day in New Zealand because on this day in 1845, Chief Hone Heke of the Ngāpuhi Maori tribe chopped down the flagpole that was flying the British Union Jack over the Treaty House at Waitangi in the Bay of Islands. He was unhappy with the terms of the Treaty of Waitangi, which had been signed by representatives of the British Crown and the Maori chiefs. Well, 142 years later, I married Julie in the Bay of Islands, and we had our wedding photographs taken in the grounds of the Treaty House at Waitangi, where the current steel flagpole flies the Union Jack, the New Zealand flag, and the flag of the United Tribes of New Zealand. And it seems only right that the first thing we did after we got married was go to a place where a treaty was signed to make sure the British and the locals lived together in harmony. Because Julie's a New Zealander, I'm British, and we've been living together in harmony ever since.
Love can make you weep. Our house, that was where we used to sleep.
Our house from madness. We're talking about Neighbours this morning, and Neighbours from Hell. When we first got married, our next door neighbour was a nightmare. His back garden looked like a scrapyard. Honestly, the amount of junk in there. And his fence was just forklift pallets stood up on end. Now this was in New Zealand, and at the end of our driveway we had a mailbox. We went on holiday once and Julie's mum came round to empty the mailbox. She stopped her car at the end of our drive, checked the mailbox, and it's an automatic car. She'd left it in drive. Getting back in, she put her foot on the accelerator, took off, veered onto our neighbour's driveway, hit our neighbour and pushed him into his garage. Luckily, the car came to a complete stop because there was so much junk in there.
Wouldn't it be nice to get on with me neighbours?
I'm Graham Mack, asking why today is special, and it's special because on this day in 1986 in the town of Carmel, California, Clint Eastwood was voted as mayor by a landslide. Can you imagine living in that town where the mayor is Clint Eastwood? You accidentally drop a sweet wrapper, and before you've had a chance to bend down and pick it up, you see the mayor, and he's holding a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world.
You've got to ask yourself one question.
Yeah?
Do I feel lucky?
Lucky? Well, I suppose I've had...
Well, do you, punk?
Well, actually, Clint, I do. I feel really lucky to be here on Radio Merseyside this morning. And hey, wait a minute, Clint. What are you doing? It was only a bit of litter, for goodness sake. Put that down. Now, somebody's eye out. Who else have you shot today?
I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy.
It was a big day yesterday. Paul McCartney was in town. He just showed up and he did a gig at the Philharmonic pub. Mary from Huyton, you were there.
I was, Graham, yeah.
How did you get to be there when the whole city wanted to be there?
Do you know what? I think the stars just aligned yesterday.
Yeah.
I was basically, I've wrote a book on Paul for children in rhyme.
Right.
I don't always have it round with me. I was on Gracie Market in the stall in the morning.
Yeah.
I seen Jackie Spencer's pictures and I thought, well, I'm meeting people in town anyway.
Yeah.
I'll have a little walk around. Somebody messaged me and said he's at the Echo Arena. So 3 of us whizzed down the arena.
Right.
Not a soul.
Okay.
We're still there till 4 o'clock thinking he's going to come out.
Yeah.
And then I get another message saying, go to the Phil pub. So we jump a taxi down. And when we get there and everyone's outside, because it's only a pub and you can hear all the music, me and my friends started to sing along.
Right.
So I think the people from the show were really pleased with that. And then they
hang on, so this is people from the James Corden show, the TV show, which is what it was all about. That's why
they were saying, oh, sing a bit louder and dance. We were doing it anyway.
So this is on Hope Street, is it, outside?
This is on Hope Street outside the Phil pub, yeah.
Okay.
So then the next minute is, as they do when anyone as famous is coming out, they start splitting the door where you go that side, you go that side.
Yeah.
And then I thought, he's ready to come out. My dream's gone. And then I'm on the left-hand side, and my 2 friends come over, and they start saying to people, you can come in, you can come in. And there was 2 ladies in front of me, and they went, you can come in. And I thought, that's it. That's it. Top of my bucket list is McCartney. I've always wanted to meet him. Anyway, cut a long story short, the next minute they go, you 3.
Wow.
Can you go in, and can you make it lively? Well, I didn't need asking.
Can you make it lively?
Can you make it lively as you come in?
Yeah.
As you come in the door.
Right.
It was already lively. It was already heaving.
Yeah.
Because it was to the right.
Yeah.
But just as you go in the door, to television program, can you be excited?
Okay.
You don't need to ask me twice, mate. So they opened the door and the camera was on, and I've got to say we laughed about it later. I think it was like the opening scene from A Hard Day's Night. God knows what it looked like.
Yeah.
Because I've been in Gracie, I had a red t-shirt on, my jeans, my scruffy shoes, and I just ran in as if I was doing a scene from A Hard Day's Night, and we were like, oh my God.
Now, when you ran in, what was the scene? Was he on stage still playing?
He was on stage with the band.
Yeah.
And
so the place is rocking.
When you were in the room, everyone was jumping up and down anyway. It was all,
Yeah. So how close did you get to him at that?
Well,
it's not a big pub, the Philharmonic. Well,
at first it was the restaurant room on the right.
Yeah.
So first I was like third, I'd say, about 3 people. I don't know, I just wiggled my way to the front.
Right.
And then I think the songs I can remember was he done Love Me Do, he done A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah.
He done I've Got a Feeling, he was just jumping up and down. And then with James Corden, he done Hey Jude.
Oh, okay. Because he finishes the show on Hey Jude, doesn't he? Yeah, usually.
It's just so emotional, honestly, and it was just brilliant. He asked James Corden to sing with him. And then he went along the front and he was shaking hands. And then as he got to me, I mean, being in the city, you don't go say Paul, do you?
No.
You know what? I didn't.
No.
I was just like, Mack, have you seen the book? And I just had the book there. It was just there with me.
And just tell me about this book that you've written about. It was about him, and you happened to have it on you. Tell me about the book.
I happened to have it on me because I'd been the market.
Yeah.
And so I'd brought so many home with me.
And what is it? It's a book in rhyme, did you say?
Yeah, it's
Paul's story from his birth in Liverpool to the breakup of the band in 1970.
Yeah.
And it's all in rhyme because I work in a nursery.
Yeah.
And I know that schools and nurseries now have the 60s and the Beatles on the curriculum.
Yeah.
And there was nothing out there, so that's basically what I done. I wrote that and John's story in rhyme for the next generation.
So now he's coming close to you. Are you thinking, here we go?
And no, honestly, I didn't. And as I say, it wasn't a case of his. It was just, it happened. I didn't even think about it. He had hold of my hand, and I went, Paul, have you seen the book? And he went, I've got it, I love it.
He's got it? He's got a copy?
I've got it, I love it. I was just gone. I was gone. And that is just my bucket list for the rest of my life.
Did you get him to sign it?
No.
You didn't get him to sign it?
No, it was just happened so quick, Graham. He was just going around shaking hands. I don't need it signing.
I think if you sent him a copy and tell your story, I'm sure he'll sign it and post it back.
Oh, I'm sure, because it's such a great story. Someone else does it, fair enough. That for me yesterday, that's enough for me. That's top of my bucket list. I'm quite happy with that.
So when you're going to, I can tell you haven't come down off this yet. When do you think you will come down off this, Mary?
I don't know. Oh my goodness.
Graham Mack, BBC Radio Merseyside.
Have you ever thought about how amazing trees are? I know you're going to think I've lost my mind, but I'm starting to get the feeling that spending time with trees might be the key to greatness. Percy Shaw is the man who invented cat's eyes, the reflectors you see at night in the road that must have saved countless lives. On YouTube, I watched a documentary about Percy from 1968. At one point, they show his factory in Halifax. Sticking out of a hole in the roof, you see the top branches of a tree. The factory was built around the tree. Alan Wicker's narration explains.
Sentimental as any no-nonsense Yorkshireman, he made sure when he was boss that the woodman spared the sycamore he climbed as a child.
Percy's sycamore is not the only tree that was important to historical pioneers. The orchard at Woolsthorpe Manor in Lincolnshire has a special apple tree. In 1666, an apple fell from it and made Isaac Newton ask the question, why do apples always fall straight down? That apple tree gave Newton the inspiration for his work and helped him become one of the most influential scientists of all time. Without Newton's work on gravity and his laws of motion, we'd never have been able to fly to the moon. And Newton's apple tree is not the only tree that plays a part in man's conquest of space. Robert Goddard was an American engineer, professor, physicist, and inventor. He built the world's first liquid-fueled rocket. With his team, he launched 34 rockets between 1926 and 1941. NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center is named after him. He grew up in Boston, and at the age of 17, on October the 19th, 1899, he climbed a cherry tree. He was transfixed by the sky. Later he wrote, "On this day I climbed a tall cherry tree at the back of the barn, and as I looked towards the fields at the east, I imagined how wonderful it would be to make some device which had the possibility of ascending to Mars." For the rest of his life, Goddard called October the 19th Anniversary Day. He moved his rocket testing equipment to New Mexico and would go back to Boston and visit the cherry tree. He wrote about it in his journal. October the 19th, 1927, got rocket weighed and ready in the afternoon. Stopped at cherry tree at 6 p.m. October the 19th, 1928, took out trailer to the farm with sacks. Went out to cherry tree. October the 19th, 1932, worked on flow patterns in the afternoon. Went to cherry tree. Anniversary day. In the autumn of 1938, Goddard got a letter from a friend in Massachusetts telling him that the cherry tree had been uprooted in a nor'easter. In his journal that night, he wrote, "Cherry tree down. Have to carry on alone." Percy Shaw, Newton and Goddard's connection to trees got me thinking about how important trees might be. Buddha reached enlightenment as he sat and meditated under a tree. Why do we decorate a tree at Christmas? Do trees have a connection to the universe? They're directly connected to the earth through their roots. They interact with the atmosphere through their branches, and their leaves absorb energy from the sun that's travelled millions of miles through space. Do trees communicate with the universe? If you spend time with them, is inspiration one of their fruits? Does spending time with trees bring good luck? Well, it would explain why we say, touch wood. BBC Radio Merseyside, Lionel Richie dancing on the ceiling. Imagine living in the flat above them. Hey, we're talking about Neighbours this morning.
Neighbours.
Survey out this week says the number one reason why people move house is nightmare neighbours. Have you had neighbours from hell? I had neighbours once that reported me to Ofcom. You see, I used to live on this housing estate in suburbia in Teesside. I did the breakfast show on TFM up there for about 4 years. But this housing estate, I was the only normal one in the street. The bloke next door to the left of us always wore a hooded top and sunglasses. Across from him was the Volkswagens. They had a fleet of them. And they lived next door to the door slammers. My next door neighbours, the other side, were the Bizarros. They lived in a bizarro world where they did everything round the wrong way. I saw Mrs. Bizarro one day ironing in the back garden. She had the iron on an extension lead. Pretty sure they did everything the wrong way around. Might have even had a cat called Rover and a dog called Tiddles. Always wondered, did they sit on their food and eat with their bums? Anyhow, on the other side, hooded sunglasses, he moved out. And in came the Clampets. Yeah! Honestly, talk about rednecks. They didn't have a car, they had a beat-up old truck. The dog looked like it had been rescued from a scrapyard because the owners thought it looked too fierce for that kind of work. Well, I used to make out that they had tyre swans and broken kitchen appliances on their lawn. One morning there's a knock at the door. Julie answers and shouts upstairs, "Mrs. Clampett wants a word with you." That didn't help, she called her Mrs. Clampett. That wasn't their name, that's just what we called them. Turned out she wasn't happy what I was saying about them on the radio. I said, well look, I'll never mention it again. In fact, I'm not even going to talk about living in suburbia again. That's it, it's off. She says, fine, I won't take it any further. Monday morning I'm called into the boss's office. Yeah, they've put a complaint into Ofcom. Now, this is over 10 years ago. Ofcom must have thrown it out because I've heard nothing since. Honest to goodness. So, I managed to explain to her that I was making it all up and they didn't really have tyre swans or broken washing machines on the lawn, and she said, yeah, but we've got the truck and the dog. Well, that's when things got interesting. Within a week, they sold the truck. I saw him sell it in the street. Bloke came round. Mr. Clampett spat on his hand, reached out and shook, and £50 notes were exchanged. Then that night, I heard Mr. Clampett digging a hole in the garden. And I never saw that dog again.
Graham Mack. BBC Radio Merseyside.
Don't you hate nuisance calls? I get them all the time. The ones I really hate are the ones I get when I'm at home and I'm having my tea and it's telesales.
Your landline number has been selected for a free video-enabled mobile phone, which you will be receiving within 3 working days. All right?
How will I be receiving the phone?
So that's what we will send it to you.
You don't know where I live.
That's why I called you up.
Why? To find out where I live. So then you'll have my phone number and you'll find out where I live. That doesn't sound like a great idea.
Sir, I just got your landline number forwarded to me.
Who did you get the landline number from?
I got your landline number from the marketing mailing list, and from there your number got selected for that.
Excellent. What's my name then?
What, sir?
Okay, so some marketing list gave you my landline number. Did they give you my name?
Just your landline number.
Ah, they didn't give you my name. How about that, eh? Maybe, what's to stop you just ringing numbers in the dark?
Sir, I want to tell you, we just take out the numbers.
Yeah.
All right, and not any personal details.
All right, because you don't have them. That's why you don't do any personal details. Yeah,
so
okay.
That's why I called you up to tell you about the offer.
Okay, what's the offer
you're
then?
getting?
What am I getting?
Okay, so what I'm asking from your side is that whether do you use any mobile phone?
Yeah, of course I use a mobile phone.
Okay, so are you in pay-as-you-go or in a contract?
I'm on pay-as-you-go.
And how much do you spend on your pay-as-you-go every month?
I don't know, £5, if that.
All right. And as I told you that you will be receiving this mobile phone, with this mobile phone, every month you will be getting 400 free calling minutes, which is anytime, any network, all right?
Really? Okay.
250 free text messages, 25 free video calling minutes, and 25 picture messages each month, every month, all right?
All right.
Okay, and as you have been selected for a free video-enabled mobile phone, so for the first 6 months you will be getting a double benefit, which is 800 free calling minutes and 500 free text messages. All right,
Okay.
and you will be getting a flat 50% discount for the first 6 months each month. All right.
All right.
Okay, and what you have to pay is only 17 pounds and 50 pence for the first 6 months each month. All right.
Hang on, £17 a month. I don't spend that much on my phone now. No way.
Okay.
You're going to cost me more money.
You don't want to go. You don't want to go for it.
Not at that. Do me a better deal and I might be interested.
No one will give you this deal which I am giving to you. It's only coming to you because you have been selected as a privileged customer for this.
How am I a privileged customer? I've never used you before. How can I become a privileged customer when I'm not even a customer in the first place?
Your landline number got selected
Look, listen. We're going round in circles. Here's the deal. You give me your home phone number right now, and I'll call you back while you're having your tea, and then we'll start talking about a deal. What's your home phone number?
Maureen and Bromborough, you were talking about Clint Eastwood before being the mayor of Carmel.
It was on this day that he was voted the mayor of Carmel, California, yeah?
Well, Maureen says she's been to Carmel and it's a lovely place. And did you know that Clint got a law passed where you were allowed to eat ice cream in the street because you weren't allowed to beforehand?
Really? Yeah. Really?
So Clint was like, I'm not having this. Everyone's going to be allowed to eat ice cream.
You feel lucky, punk? Oh, do you?
Give me a feast and a flake.
Well, no, hey there, that's why. Because in the movie, have you seen Dirty Harry? He goes, when he talks about the gun, the most powerful handgun in the world, it's a 44 Magnum.
Magnum ice cream.
Also an ice cream. Are you sure they didn't get that confused? And he said, you're allowed to hold a Magnum in the street. And they thought, right, that's it, ice cream's for everyone. It could be just a terrible misunderstanding. Nuisance calls. Sometimes I get them and I can't tell whether I'm talking to a human being or a robot.
My name is Martin.
Hello, Martin. What can I do for you?
Hiya.
Hi.
My name's Martin, and I'm calling from... Survey focuses on
Wait, Martin, slow down.
Yes.
And what can I do for you this morning?
Survey today.
You're doing a what?
To ask you a couple of questions.
Quick survey.
If we can save you some money. Is that okay?
Save me some money on what?
The survey focuses on bills like your energy.
Yeah, Martin, slow down. Martin, are you a human being or a recording?
Yes.
Yeah, one or the other. Which are you? Are you a human being or a recording?
Yes.
Yeah, which one? You're a recording, aren't you?
No.
You're not a recording, you are a live person. I'm talking to a live person here.
Yes.
Okay, what's your last name, Martin? Martin?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that, I'm afraid.
Martin,
This is all pre-recorded messages operated by a live person.
You cannot be pre-recorded and live. It's impossible.
Yes.
Yes, it is impossible. You agree that it is impossible?
No.
You don't agree that it's not impossible. Martin, you're making no sense. Martin, are you a complete idiot?
No.
How do you know that for sure? You sound like one.
Yes.
I'm glad we agree on something. It's that time of year again, time for your radio's annual checkup, and I am a radio doctor, so if you can just tilt your radio backwards a little bit there, that's it. And if I put my hand under here and cough, that's fine.
Graham Mack, BBC Radio Merseyside.
We've been talking about... is that you, Pete?
Yeah, I'm here.
Were you just clearing your throat ready to go on the radio? You're very professional.
Usually say, I'll just go over to soft fella in Crosby or something.
All right. Well, I'm not going to call you soft fella. I'm going to call you Pete and Crosby. You're talking about nuisance calls. What have you had?
I love them.
Why, do you mess with them?
Oh, yeah. I answer every question with a question.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah.
So give us an example. So they've called you up and they're trying to sell you something.
Well, you had a good go before, didn't you, with the guy about the phone?
Yeah.
You were asking him, and I just answer every question with a question. Like you were saying, you won something, and I go down the block with them.
Yeah.
Or I'll say, they'll ramble on, they'll ask for Pete, and I'll say, I'll go and get him. Because I let them ramble on, then I say, I'll go and get him. I'm a gardener or a painter, I'm just in the house.
Right. Oh, I see, right. So it's not, you're making out it's not your phone, right? Yeah.
And I'll go and get them, I'll go and get him.
Yeah.
And then I come on, and I'm 90.
Right.
94, what can I get you? I'm a bit hard of hearing.
Yeah.
You'll have to speak up. Then you have to speak up. Or I'll just be someone else, like I'll be someone from Newcastle. I just mess them around, just keep messing them, and they're not programmed, and every one of them's hung up on me.
You actually get them to hang up on you?
Yeah, I've never hung up on any of them.
See, that's normally what I do. I end up getting fed up with them and just saying...
I never get fed up, and I never, ever hang up on them or swear at them or anything. I just keep going and going, and in the end they get really fed up because they can go on to someone else, can't they? And I never say yes.
You never say yes?
Oh, no, because I've heard a few of them. They ask questions, and you say yes, and they've got you on the recorded.
Oh, yeah, they record them all, yeah.
They're recorded, and they'll say, do you want to have a monthly phone or 6 months or a yearly contract? If you say yes to anything, they'll juggle it round. I've heard of this happening.
All right.
So, I never say yes.
Okay, so be warned there. So if you're going to mess with them, there are rules.
Oh, just mess with them. Just mess with them. Just
all right.
And they get really fed up with you. Well, they get fed up with me.
So you totally turn the tables on them. They hang up on you, and they get fed up with you. When you're supposed to hang up on them, and you're supposed to get fed up with them. That's supposed to be how it works.
They're not programmed for the questions you ask them.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Pete.
That's a pleasure, son. Love the programme.
Thank you very much. Nice of you to say. Cheers.
All right,
Thank
son.
you. All right. Paddy, how you going? You all right?
How you, Graham?
You're in Walton. What do you do when you get these nuisance calls?
Well, a lot like the lad who's just been on.
Yeah.
But what I do is, there was a girl who came on, she was from a call centre in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And she said to me, I'm phoning up about your accidents in work that's made you deaf. So,
right.
So
now just have you had an accident at work that's made you deaf?
No, okay. I'm self-employed.
Okay, right.
So, she said, I phoned up to ask you about your accidents in work that's give you deafness.
Right.
So I said, you'll have to speak up, I can't hear you.
Well, of course. I mean, she's feeding you the line.
Yeah, so I started feeding her the line.
Right.
So I said, you'll have to speak up, I can't hear you. So she goes, I phoned up about the accident you had in work. So I said, it's no good, you'll have to speak louder, I can't hear you. So in the end, this poor girl, she's shouting at me down the phone, and I couldn't stop laughing. But luckily enough, she took it in good humour.
Oh, she did? Oh, good for her.
Graham Mack, BBC Radio Merseyside.
I'm Graham Mack, asking why today's special, and it's special because the violin virtuoso Yehudi Menuhin was born on this day in 1916. Let me just give you a tune on the old violin. I'll get it under my chin here. And there we go. You like this? This is my old violin. Because I gave Yehudi Menuhin. All right, okay, I'm sorry. BBC Radio Merseyside, and as you know, I always like to have a look at what happened on this day. And we know that on this day in 1989, at Hillsborough Stadium, 96 men, women and children died. And years ago, I found a poem in a Liverpool fanzine called Read All Over the Land. And the poem's by Dave Kirby, and it's called The Justice Bell. And I thought today would be a good day to read you this poem. A schoolboy holds a leather ball in a photograph on a bedroom wall. The bed is made, the curtains drawn, as silence greets the break of dawn. The dusk gives way to morning light, revealing shades of red and white, which hang from posters locked in time of the Liverpool team of '89. Upon a pale white quilted sheet, a football kit is folded neat, with a yellow scarf trimmed in red, and some football boots beside the bed. In hope the room wakes each day to see the boy who used to play, but once again it wakes alone, for this young boy's not coming home. Outside, the springtime fills the air. The smell of life is everywhere. Violas bloom and tulips grow, while daffodils dance heel to toe. These should be such special times for a boy who'd now be in his prime. But spring forever turns to grey in the Yorkshire sun one April day. The clock was locked at 3:06 as sun shone down upon the pitch, lighting up faces etched in pain as death descended on Leppings Lane. On April the 15th every year, when all is calm and skies are clear, beneath a glowing Yorkshire moon, a lone Scots piper plays a tune. The tune rings out the justice cause, then blows due west across the moors. It passes by the eternal flame, then engulfs a young boy's picture frame. His room is as it was that day. For all these years, it stayed that way, untouched and frozen in time, since that tragic day in '89. And as it plays its haunting sound, tears are heard from miles around. They're tears from families of those who fell, awaiting the toll of the justice bell.